When it comes to astral travel or out-of-body experiences, not so much. I've had one that just was wonderful and scared me really seriously on the other side, and none since. And I think it's the fear. I do believe that it's the fear. And Preston may have helped you tonight, but on the other hand, he may not have. Some scary stuff, actually. Preston, you're back, and I think somebody's with you on the international line named Luke. Luke, are you there?
That's right. I am, actually, yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're there, Luke. Where are you, by the way?
I'm from Australia. I'm actually about 100 k's away from Melbourne in Geelong.
Down under.
Yeah, I've been listening to you for many years now, and this is actually the first time I've been able to listen to you live, and it's just incredible. I thought, what the heck, I'll try and see if I can call up and... You know?
Yeah, it's live. That's right. It's live worldwide, and it's just that Australia, Japan, the Southeast Asian areas are all sort of at a good time for the show, and a lot of people, I think, don't realize it is live, but it is right now.
No, it's fantastic. Would I be able to shout out my father? He's turning 70 today, so I'm going to take him out a little bit later tonight. But
oh, that's really a big birthday. I know. I just had one.
Yeah. I wanted to call up. I don't know that I have a similar sort of experience as the other listeners.
Maybe you've got but maybe you've got a question about it.
Oh, sort of. I had an experience that was more like going into myself. I was sort of lying down one night. I was quite relaxed. I'd had a hard day at work, and I just found myself sort of relaxing more so, and sort of found myself in this dark space. It was almost like I'd changed some sort of consciousness, and I actually saw myself sort of out of body as a young child. And I was working through a lot of things at the time. I had a lot of things that happened.
So wait a minute, let me get it straight. You exited your body, and you were your young self. Yeah,
it was just so bizarre. It was like I was young again. I was seeing myself as a 10-year-old. Wow. I mean, I'm 26 now. This probably happened maybe 8 or 9 months ago, but it was so bizarre, and I actually felt young again. I sort of felt my mind slow down to how it had when I was, that age. I was thinking about things that I hadn't thought about for many, many years.
Wow.
It was just insane.
That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. I mean, to actually feel young and to understand that feeling is pretty amazing. Preston?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Luke. What's really interesting is when you go out of body, time collapses to a certain extent. In fact, the farther you go, you can effectively travel in time. And sometimes when you pop out of body, you go to the past. You can go to your childhood or connect with that, or even the future for that matter. I get what you're talking about.
I think it's so cool. I mean, just to feel that young again, to remember what it felt like. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I suppose that was something I've been sort of processing, I guess, a little bit as well, and maybe subconsciously it came on. I'm not really sure. It was just really bizarre. I've had a few other times when I've sort of felt myself going back into that sort of place, but the age difference wasn't there. But it always seems like I'm going in on myself, not traveling out elsewhere. I unfortunately didn't catch the first half of the program, but it sort of sounded like you were talking a lot about almost like astral travel.
Yes.
Is that right?
Trust me on this. It's worth joining, becoming a time traveler, and downloading it. It's really a fascinating program all the way around. And what you just said is fascinating, too, and especially calling all the way from Australia. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much, Art.
All right. Take care. That's really neat. I mean, can you remember what you felt like at 10?
Well, not as well as I would like, but you can connect with it through the out-of-body thing for sure.
Yeah, to have that fresh again would be awesome.
Yeah, you know what's amazing? Because on the other side, you can travel in an instant. There's no such thing as rate or distance, really. So if you take that equation, that we have rate times time equals distance, it collapses time. So this is kind of why we have precognition when we come back from these experiences, or you can travel to the past and see this thinking of the Titanic or what have you.
Okay, Preston, I had one precognitive experience, but I don't think it had anything to do with astral travel or being out of my body. On the other hand, what do I know? Maybe it did. But I remember being awake, moving from place to place when I had this experience. So no, I think I was awake. I don't think I was astrally traveling. But your point is good. Test it, is what you say, right?
Right. Well, what I'm saying is if you do this astral travel, be prepared to have a lot of psychic experiences because it activates, I guess you would call them your chakras, and you'll feel it. I mean, you will physically feel this stuff when you have, premonition, for example. I mean, I had a really powerful one. I had this vision. I was going to the ATM to get some money, and I had this vision that there was this gangster-looking guy there, dressed in leather, whipping his hair around. I'm like, God, that's weird.
Yes, it is.
And drive up, it's up still a mile away. Got there, and there he was. Got chills down my spine, just like I saw. I'm like, I'm not going near that thing.
Okay, so in other words, it was a precognitive warning.
Exactly. I've had a number of those. And you start to learn stuff about people that, you can, to a certain extent, read people a lot better than you normally could.
Wow. All right, Wallaceburg, it's midnight. You're on the air. Hello. Wherever Wallaceburg is on the phone. Hello?
Oh, yes. Hello, Art. How are you doing? It's an honor to be part of your show. I have a question for your guest there. Sure. I guess I've lucid dreamed lately, but this one time, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Relax. Just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
Sure. This one time I awoke and I was laying in bed and I saw the back of my body leaving the bedroom or getting out of bed and walking towards the bedroom door.
Wow.
And I thought it was so odd, obviously, to see myself walking away. So it's like a reverse out of the body or something. So I was wondering if he has ever experienced anything like that or what it would mean. If it has any meaning.
That is so opposite. Preston, he sees himself walking away. How could that be?
Yeah, that has happened to me. Not quite exactly that way, but that's called bilocation. And what's happening is you're conscious in either your body or your astral body. And if you're good at it, you can do both. There was one time where I was out there flying, I don't know where in God's name I was, but far away. And at the same time, I started to become aware of my bedroom. And mind you, I'm lying there with my eyes closed. But I'm like, I think I'm awake. So I opened one eye. And I'm like, yep, I'm awake. At the same time, I'm out there astral traveling. So to a certain extent, this is called bilocation. And people are able to do it to the extent, that they can sit down and be physically in another place.
So this caller could probably switch positions. If he was really good at it, he could jump to the astral body that was leaving and be in that one.
Right. That's what I would recommend. Concentrate on that one and see if you can transfer your awareness to it. You should be able to.
What do you think? You want to give it a try?
Well, it just happened. I never meant for it to happen or anything. So, and this is probably a couple of years ago now. So, sure, if it ever happens again, I would perhaps try that. But yeah.
All right, well, good luck with it, and I hope it works. Whew. This is a lot to take in. It really is. Let's go to Nick on Skype. Hi, Nick.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, sure. Just fine.
Hey, Art, long-time listener. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Real quick, I just had a question for Mr. Preston. Has he ever confused, or I don't know how to put it another way, out-of-body experiences with lucid dreaming? Because I know that as a kid, I used to practice lucid dreaming a lot. Went on message boards reading about lucid dreaming, and I feel like a lot of what he's saying reminds me
Of lucid dreaming. That makes sense. Preston?
Right. Well, most people who look into this agree that they're connected. There's no doubt. I think personally that a lucid dream is when you know you're projecting the reality around you. But the problem is you can be out of body in one of the higher dimensions and be doing this. So the definitions blur. It's hard to say where the line is between the two, but you can project out of a lucid dream into the physical world. Well, because so you know.
I have felt the whole out of body experience thing. One time I was asleep on a couch and I was in a strange place, and all of a sudden I was half awake, half asleep, and I felt like there was someone sitting on my chest. A scary voice kind of came into my head, and I sort of saw myself in the room. But that only happened one time. But I've had lucid dreamings happen. I've had lucid dreams a lot more than that. And I felt like there was a distinct difference between those two things. You don't think there's a distinct, difference between the two?
Well, there's sort of gradations, I would say. It's very hard to divide them apart, because some people feel that the lucid dream is superior to the normal out-of-body experience. I think they're separate. There are certain levels to dreaming. In the very beginning, you have dreams, which are just the things you did throughout the day, the movies you saw. Then you move up to a psychological level of dreaming, where you're dealing with your fears and desires. And then you bring in lucid dreaming, and you can deal with those in a conscious way. But at some point, you don't dream like a normal person. You're awake all night and never actually fall asleep. And you understand the difference between a mental projection in front of you, depending on where you are. I mean, if you're in the physical world, or if on the other side where you're manipulating things, or you're in a consensus reality, like, the heavenly realms, where everyone agrees this is, the way it is.
Okay.
So it's hard to describe.
Sure it is. All of this is hard for words. Caller, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I'd just like to give a quick shout-out to Richard Hoagland. Looking forward to his show after this. I'm really enjoying it. And just remember to think of the suicides.
Coming up at midnight. All right. Suicides. So sometimes I get into this state, Preston, where I think that I have not slept all night. And frankly, I haven't slept all night. But I have been in that little tiny gray area we were talking about, in and out of it, so much that I lose track of reality. That's the only way to put it. And I might have a dream that appears to be, or seems to be, so real and so quick, and I'm just like in and out of this, if I can't sleep. Most of our dreams occur, I'm told, in that area between sleep and wakefulness. Is that true?
Right, the REM state.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But like I said, we all go out of body every night. And the truth is we're not unconscious. We're conscious on the other side. We're talking to our relatives. We're having experiences. We're planning out our days.
Right.
And then we catch snippets of this as we go down in a gradation to the physical world. There's been times when I've been so far up there that I had to stop at each level and write this down in a dream diary, take that one down a level, and write that down, and so on until I'm finally like, am I really awake now?
So I guess it's pretty common stuff. Boy, we have got to take a break, so we're going to do that. With Preston Dennett as a guest, we indeed are raging through the night. OBEs. And I get messages on the computer, and so here is one for you, Preston. This comes from Joe, and he says, can OBEs allow you to travel to different points in time as well? Time.
Yes.
I mean, that's what the one caller said, right? He was 10.
Right. It's really startling when it first happens. You're like, what's going on? But, yeah, you can travel to the past or the future. I think the future is a little bit harder because you get probable realities and you're not sure if these things are going to happen or not. But you can try to travel to the past. I tried to see the Titanic, but I was not successful.
Really?
Yeah, I figured.
So you can travel to important times in history.
People have been successful at doing this. It's sort of a psychic, investigations.
Sort of time travel, actually.
Right, absolutely. We have the ability to do this. Time is not what we think it is. It's on the physical plane, at least, it's a fault of perception. The truth is, time is simultaneous.
All right, all the way across the country. Florida, DeLand, Florida, I think. You're on the air.
Hey, Art.
Hey, Mr. Caller.
Yeah. I have you to thank for all my out-of-body experiences I've had over the years.
Really? You heard some of my old shows on them?
Oh, your first show I listened to was the night Chuck Harder, you were talking about Chuck Harder was missing. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, man, that was a long time ago. Sure, I remember.
It was a long time ago. But my father had passed away, and my mother was an invalid. And my sister lived with her, and she used to go to work really early in the morning. And I used to get up and drive over to my mother's, and what I found out was it was interrupted sleep was causing it. But you had Albert Taylor on one night.
That's right.
And he was describing it, and I had the vibration thing a couple of times, and you feel like you're going to die. I mean, it's a frightening thing.
I'm laughing, but it is frightening.
Yeah, but what I was wanting to say to you is, when you get to that point, that's as scary as it gets. Once you just are there, you just get out of bed real quick, roll out, and you'll be standing there, and it's really cool. But there's some things that I've noticed. I've had a lot of them, and there's certain things that I've read a lot of different books on it too because of it, and I've made some little bullet points. I've seen these guys. They look like monks with the hoods, like Grim Reapers without the sickle. I went to talk to one of them, and he just turned into like a stone pillar.
Really? See, that's not necessarily encouraging. That's not an ankle grab, but that's, No,
but I've had the grabbing and stuff. That's, yeah, I've had that laying in bed, and I've had a lot of these things, but there's certain things, like I've never seen the silver cord, really. One time I thought maybe, but for the most part, no.
Well, it's a good question, Preston. Do people see that cord? Do they actually see it?
I never did. I looked for and finally I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see it, and I finally did.
I was going to say, otherwise, how do you know it's there?
Well, it's there because enough people report it, and if you look hard enough, you can find it. For some people, it's a tiny little filament. For others, it's a big white hose.
Right.
Some people never see it at all. Some people see it symbolically.
I'd want to see it, and I'd actually want to test its tensile strength. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that.
So you've never caller, you have finally seen it, or what?
Not really. I had an obstruction in my vision one time, but when they talk about like commanding stuff, I think it was William Buhlman had in his book about clarity now. Oh, it's unbelievable. That really, you can see good. The other thing is sometimes when you're laying there when you've got the vibration thing going on,
right,
that third eye bit, that's pretty neat because all of a sudden you can see, but your eyes are closed. But yeah, it's just quite an experience.
Well, right away, seeing with your eyes closed, that'd be a big tip-off right there.
Yeah, well, how I always have done it, I've laid in bed and just focused on my breathing.
Right.
And as you breathe in, I just make like it's coming up my feet, up my legs, and then out. And while I'm relaxing, and then when you think you're relaxed, you can kind of like relax one more time. You just get more limp. A lot of times I'll focus on a little shape, a triangle or a square or something.
Right.
But then the other thing that helps also for me is thinking about I think it was Albert Taylor might have said it, but thinking about where you are in your body, and it's like, 2 inches behind your eyes or whatever, And when you think about that, you get to where you don't feel your arms and legs anymore. You're just so relaxed.
Huh.
But that's usually when you hear the roaring sound or the people talking to you or what. I mean, it's very strange. But once anymore, I haven't had one in quite a while. But I noticed when I was doing it, I got to where I could have them pretty much every night if I wanted to. But it drains you something terrible. I mean,
Sure.
if you do it back to back, couple of nights, oh, you feel like you've been hit by a truck. I mean, and then what happens is you get so tired, you just when you go to sleep, you just won't have one. But what did it for me was the interrupted sleep, and I didn't know what it was. And like I say, going over to my mother's in the mornings there, and then laying back down to get another hour or two of sleep. And when I first had it, I didn't know whether to go to like the hospital or what, because that vibration feeling and you just feel like you're going to die. You know, it's very unsettling. But like I say, I had that several times, and I had no idea what it was. But then I heard Albert on your show talking about it, and he was saying about, you have to just go with it. And it's scary to do, but the first time I did it,
well, it's easy to say. It's easy to say, but it's not so easy to actually do if you're afraid.
Well, no, I was afraid, and that was the thing that Albert, was saying. Oh, you just got to go with it, and I just got to the point where
You did it.
I wasn't enjoying having the vibration thing all the time.
Oh no!
And then, like I say, as soon as you roll out, that's gone. That's the scariest part. Once you get to that point, that's as bad as from there on. It's just really cool. Then you can. I've stood on the moon, Art, and looked at the Earth, and picked up a handful of. It was like beach sand.
I did the same thing. Did the same darn thing.
Really?
Yeah, couldn't believe it. To hear you say that, it's so cool because that's exactly what I did.
The first night that the first time I had it, I fell out of my body, and I was laying on the floor looking up at my legs on the bed, and it was like, and then boom, I was back. But then the next night, I was able to completely just roll out, and I got to the foot of the bed, and I was standing there. I could see my wife and myself sleeping, and I was a little hesitant to leave the room, and I did, like triple somersaults and stuff right there. It was just amazing. And then I was back, and after that I got brave, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go somewhere, and I dove through the front windows in the bedroom, which I thought was going to take me out into like my front yard, I ended up in the tunnel with the light at the end.
Wow! And
that was quite a ride. And I got to the end of where the light was, and I stopped, and I thought, this isn't where I want to go right now. And I was right back up the tunnel and back in my body.
I was about to ask you if you considered the John Lear thing at that point, but apparently not.
Yeah, no, like I say, it's a lot. When you have it happen to you, there's just a lot of information all at one time and the other thing, and I forgot who it was that mentioned it.
Got to be really quick. We're coming up on break here.
I think it was Albert Taylor had mentioned about your higher self.
Right.
And I've requested that one time, well, actually more than once, but it's like an inverted tornado over your top of you with just swirling, and it's the most intense euphoria you've ever could imagine, and it gets so intense it just bangs you right back in your body. That I've never gone beyond that.
All right, well that is the safety return, and this is where we have to safely depart.
For Dark Matter News, I'm Leo Ashcraft. Vitamin B3, an essential part of our diet. Its deficiency in humans can lead to nausea, anemia, and tiredness. Fortunately, it can be gobbled up from sources such as salmon, avocados, and nuts. But now scientists are eager to find out if there's another unexpected source: space. A team of researchers thinks that vitamin B3 could have been made on icy dust grains in the depths of space. It would, in this scenario, have been delivered to Earth on structures of comets and asteroids. Past research has shown that vitamin B3 is present on carbon-rich meteorites in ratios between 30 and 60 parts per billion. The team decided to recreate the formation of vitamin B3 in space-like conditions. They used a mixture of gases, including pyridine, which can be found in space in carbon dioxide ice. Pyridine is one of the building blocks of vitamin B3. So the team was interested to see if it could manifest itself as vitamin B3 in these space-like conditions. The results from the experiments were promising. The researchers tested their theory by cooling an aluminum plate to negative 423 degrees Fahrenheit in a vacuum to replicate the freezing temperatures of space. The plate was then bombarded with protons to mimic space radiation that would give the gas mixture the energy to create reactions. When the sediment formed on the plate, they found a wide range of complex molecules, including B3. This is an exciting result, although it's far from proving that vitamin B3 on Earth originated from space. The next stage for these researchers will be to wait for someone to find some B3 out in space. A landmark discovery was announced by NASA this month. The possibility of a second Earth in Kepler 452b. Found by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, this planet orbits a star much like our Sun, at a distance roughly similar to the Earth. Could there be life on Earth 2.0 or even beyond? The director for SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, Seth Shostak, believes there could be. Shostak says in his video further, "We might be able to learn more. We might even get a message. If we get a message, who knows what it might be?" He continues by saying, on the other hand, let's assume that in the conservative case, if you will, that you don't get a message, you can't pick it up or you can't decode it. You'll never know what it means. This is Dark Matter News. The city of Berkeley, California passed a law that goes into effect next month requiring cell phone stores to inform customers about safety recommendations. The move reopened a decades-old debate about whether mobile phones cause brain tumors. The ordinance called the Right to Know Law will start to require retailers to give customers a handout or display a sign in stores telling them about federal regulations on the amount of radiation that cell phones can emit and the instructions on safe phone use. The information will also go beyond the current regulations by stating that children and anyone carrying their phone in a pocket or bra could be at increased risk of radiation exposure. What the law does not require is that consumers be provided information about the specific health risks of being exposed to radiation. Researchers say that it is highly probable that long-term cell phone use can cause brain tumors. In 2011, the World Health Organization classified the kind of low-energy radiation that cell phones emit as possibly carcinogenic because of a link between cell phone use and a type of malignant brain tumor called glioma and a benign brain tumor called acoustic neuroma. Both types of brain tumors are rare. About 5 in 10,000 adults are diagnosed with glioma in the United States every year, whereas about 10 in a million people develop acoustic neuromas every year. And you know Art Bell, he's been saying don't call the show on your cell phone for years, so maybe he's some kind of prophet. I'm Leo Ashcraft for Dark Matter News.
Say, hey, Preston, what would you like to promote? Your website? Do you have books? Is a good opportunity to tell people how to get, I don't know, hints on how to do OBEs. I'm sure you have lots of written stuff. You must. You know so much about it.
Yeah, I do actually have a book out. It's called Out of Body Exploring, A Beginner's Approach, and you can learn more about it on my website. If you just Google my name, Preston Dennett, it'll take you right to my website, the actual website address.
Okay, it sounds like Bennett, but it's not. It's Dennett, D-E-N-N-I-T-T. Is that right?
E-T-T. It's
E-T-T. See, I didn't have it right. E-T-T. Got it. D-E-N-N-E-T-T.
Right, I got all my books there, excerpts, and you can contact me through my website if you have any questions or stories you'd like to share. I'm always interested in, hearing from people about this subject and UFOs as well.
Do you ever give people personal help?
Excuse me?
Do you ever give people personal help?
Oh yeah. I counsel people through doing this. I think this is such a transformational experience, Art, that I think it's really important that people know about it.
I do too.
And oh my God, it just completely will transform your life. I really urge people to at least give it a try.
All right, good enough. Donald, your turn.
Hi, Art. Roswells.
Thank you.
To both of you, actually. I was going to ask your guest how he feels about deja vu in relation to OBEs.
Yeah, well, deja vu is a very interesting thing because I used to get it a lot, and it started to increase really profoundly when I was doing out-of-body travels. And what I found was I would have deja vu, and suddenly I would remember having this experience before, to the point where I could actually predict it. I could predict the person's conversation, what was going to be on the radio, who was coming in at work, and things like this. And I realized that these were memories of, the travels I had done the previous day. So scarcely a day went by where I wasn't having, some sort of deja vu.
Oh, wow. Do you think it's possible to transfer your soul, possibly, using OBs?
Wow.
To transfer your soul?
Into another vessel, per se.
Yeah. This is talked about all the time. And it's also one of the concerns, by the way, Preston, what this caller brought up, and that is, let me take it from here, Donald, that while you're out of your body becomes occupied by some sort of entity that may or may not be friendly. Let's just leave it there.
Right. Well, it hasn't been my experience that that's true. What's the real case is when you're doing this work, you almost always have a guide with you, even if you don't perceive them. I felt like I was on my own, and I really still feel like that most of the time, because if I have a guide, they rarely show themselves. Mm-hmm. They have, but it's my understanding that they are there. And I have not found that to be a problem, even though I've done this many, many times, and I can't find any good evidence that this has ever really occurred. And as far as inhabiting someone else, well, to a certain extent, you can perceive other people's thoughts.
Well, that's not the same as inhabiting another person.
No, you can't. I mean, to kick them out of their own body or another person's body,
well,
you'd have to be
you mentioned you mentioned you can't move things, that your hand just goes right through it, or that you can walk through walls. So presumably, you could walk into a person. Right. Well,
you can walk. Yeah, I've had people walk through me, standing in front of them, and it's very disconcerting. You're like, whoa.
Right. Disconcerting puts it mildly.
You can't stick inside them. You can't.
Okay.
I haven't tried it. But it's not something I would
give it a shot. Let us know how it comes out for you.
Well, I'm willing to give it a try, but it's not something I don't want to take someone over.
I'm sort of messing with you here. Yeah, that was the obvious question. Is it possible to essentially take someone over? And you think
can influence people.
Oh.
You can, because all our thoughts are not necessarily our own. We're picking up on, this sort of telepathy, even if we don't know it. To a certain extent, some of our thoughts are influences from our spirit guides.
Have you ever influenced somebody? And in what way?
No. I have tried, and I'm like, I'm here. I've talked to people on the other side, my brothers and sisters who are alive, and tried to get them to remember what they were doing, and they could not. It's very much about memory, this whole astral travel thing. It's about awareness. It's about intent.
Right.
And, focus, these sorts of things.
Okay, let's go to Edmonton, Alberta. You're on the air.
Hello, sir. Art Bell.
Hi.
Hello. It's wonderful to hear you.
Thank you.
Welcome back from everybody. I'm sure you're sorely missed. And I'm actually shocked to be on the air right now, but I got to talk about this. Now, it was years ago when I was listening to your show, and that's the reason I have a name for what happened to me.
Okay.
I had an OBE, I guess what you're talking about. I was in college, and I was going through a pretty tough time. I really wasn't ready for the experience, and I had I guess what you'd say is a peak experience where I was doing a drawing, and it was art school. I was doing a drawing in the studio. It was late at night, and I guess I kind of felt like I had a pillar of light coming from the heaven. Felt like I was really connected to everything. But then I had an anxiety attack, I guess. So went home that night, and my dad picked me up from the hospital. And mind you, no drugs here. I'm not a drug user.
No, but drugs is a very good question. We'll ask that.
Yeah, nothing like that, Art. Even back in my college days, I was a pretty straight guy. Now, what happened is I went to sleep and had the sleep paralysis. And shortly thereafter, I saw the roof of my bedroom, the stucco on the roof, and it looked like the room was bathed in a kind of like a street lamp light. Now, I missed the earlier part of of the conversation, but I don't know if that's common. Now,
Preston, is there anything common about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you go out of body, everything glows around you. It's the whole world kind of glows, and the higher you go, the brighter it glows.
Okay.
Wow, yeah, and I had like the buzzing and all that, and there was anyway. My question is kind of, does that sort of physical and mental anxiety tend to cause those experiences? Because I haven't had a full OBE since then, though I have had sleep paralysis quite frequently, and I still have it, but it doesn't frighten me as much anymore because I kind of learned to live with it, right? It used to terrify me. Now it doesn't so much, but I wonder if you could tell me about that.
Right. Well, absolutely. Yeah. Fear of death is where this sort of thing is, I think, coming from. It's the most pervasive fear that we have, and this is something that confronts it head on, and it can cause extreme fear and anxiety and terror, and it's something that we all have to work through. And this is why it's such a great thing for elevating you spiritually and working along the spiritual path. This is a great way to face your fears, I guess, is
Sure.
what I'm saying.
All right, let me ask you about drugs. There are those who say they have experiences very much as you have described, or part of what you have described, with certain mind-altering drugs. Is this an avenue you have experimented with or know about?
I have not experimented with it. I haven't taken hallucinogens or any of these so-called drugs, which do apparently have an effect like this. And I do know of a couple of cases at least where people have had drug overdoses. And
Some of those people definitely go all the way to the light.
They do, and they don't always come back, but some do come back with these profound out-of-body experiences that they've had. So it's possible to do it through the influence of drugs or as a result of drugs. It's not something I would recommend.
Okay.
There are various ways of doing this. People, do what you call diet purification things. You don't have to stop eating meat. I've done this under the influence of alcohol, which is, I guess, an interesting
That is
fact.
interesting. You would think alcohol, which initially and for a very short time is a stimulant, but then becomes a depressant, I believe.
It's much harder to do. I've noticed that. It's easier to do all this stuff if you're clear-headed, if you're not an angry person, if you don't have things you've procrastinated,
Right.
all these problems. But if you can work through all this sort of baggage within your personality,
Got it. All right.
It makes it a lot easier.
All right. Let's go to Andy and whoever's with Andy in the background. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Art. Yes, it's my baby's awake and my wife. That's who you've been hearing in the background.
That's all right. Where are you?
I'm actually in San Diego County, California.
Okay. Well, on the air you are.
Yes, actually, I don't know how much time you allow per caller, but this subject really speaks to me. It's something that I've experienced my whole life, really. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, I was born and raised in Haiti, so English is really my third language, I would say.
Okay.
And growing up, I've always had this experience of being outside of my body to the point where, as a child, I thought that was normal to leave your body and have different experiences at night.
My goodness. So it was so common that to you it was normal.
Yes, to me, I thought it was something that everybody had experienced to the point where I tried it in real life, per se, and during my dreams, I would fly all the time, and I tried that while I was awake, and I hurt my knees as a child.
Really?
Yes, I tried to fly in the hallway in my house, and I landed on my knees, and I hurt myself pretty badly. To me, that's how real it felt,
Well,
to the
then-
point where I tried to replicate it when I was awake.
So you were fully awake when you did the bad deed to your knees.
Yes, I was about maybe 10 or 11 years old, and I tried
Pretty good
to
question.
do it.
Let me ask Preston about that. Preston, if you can't distinguish between when you're out and when you're in, then you could do something really awful like that, right?
Well, it's interesting you bring this up because there's a number of cases where people have tried to fly as kids and they were successful. I wrote a book called Human Levitation, and it recounts a dozen cases like that, and 300 plus cases across the world.
Oh, we could do a whole show on that. I've been wanting to fly all my life.
We can physically do that. This is something we can do on the other side, and sometimes the abilities from the other side translate here.
Yeah. But if you get it wrong, the knees hurt. If you get it wrong, you hurt your knees. Right, caller?
Right.
Yes, honestly, it felt real to me. It felt like I could do it at the moment. And when I did try it, it didn't end up really well for me.
Well,
but
okay, so there you go.
In the guest.
I'm sorry, I messed you up there. Repeat what you just said.
Yes, one thing I wanted to ask your guest,
Sure.
Mr. Art Bell, is that sleep paralysis is something that I've experienced all my life, along with all these wonderful experiences.
Right.
And just to give you a little bit more about myself, I am currently an active duty member of the United States Marine Corps.
Okay.
And one time I was on the range in one Marine Corps base. I won't say which one, not to give myself away. But I was sleeping there at night, and I had the sleep paralysis experience. And it again, I felt the dark presence that most people feel when they are in sleep paralysis. But this time it didn't really go away after a while like it usually does. It persisted over the night, and I felt that presence over and over again, and I was very distressed. Every time I woke up, I was paralyzed, and I felt that dark presence around me. And I felt like at one point there was a very good presence around me that came in order to help me get through that. And it showed itself to me in the form of a man.
Would this be the guide, Preston?
That's what I wanted to know. Would that be the spirit guide or the guardian angel or the higher self or whatever anybody would call it that came to me to help me through that tough time?
Yeah, that very may well be. It sounds like it. What the thing is, when you do these experiences, you start to increase your perception. You start to be able to see ghosts and sense.
Yes, I have been able to see ghosts or spirits my whole life, and it became common to me after a while.
So yeah, you have to deal with that. You can sense bad energies. You can sense good energies, and it's a completely different world that we're dealing with here.
But my question was that it gave me a name. This is the first time that it's that anything I've seen in that weird state that I was in.
Caller, I'm going to have to go. We're so short on time. I want to say hello to Brenda very quickly. Hi, Brenda. Hello, Brenda. Going once.
Hello.
Hello. It says Brenda. Is that you?
Hello.
I repeat, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello. I hear an Australian accent. Speak.
Not Australian.
Oh, where are you?
New Zealand.
New Zealand, I shouldn't say close enough. It's a different country. Okay, we have only got a moment, so if you have a question, lay it on us.
Just a wonderful program tonight.
Well, that is so very kind of you to say. Thank you, and I will end it there. And once again, since we're about at the end of the show, give us your website, ways to learn more, because that's what people want.
Right. If you want to go to my website, just Google my name, Preston Dennett. The actual website is prestondennett.weebly.com. But yeah, if you just Google my name, I've got all my books up on my website.
Right.
16 or 17 of them, and a bunch of other stuff, excerpts, and I'd love to hear from people who've had this experience or have, want to learn how to do it, because definitely it's easy to do. You just have to take the effort and do it, knuckle down.
Well, you obviously know a very great deal about it and have done a lot of it, which makes you such a joy to interview because, I don't know, you've been down, the good part, the bad part, you've been through it all. Preston, thank you for being on the program.
Oh, it's been an honor.
And Thanks. You can be sure, I'm sure we'll do it again, buddy.
Awesome.
Midnight in the desert, shooting stars across the sky. This magical journey will take us on a ride.
From the high desert to wherever you are in the world, thank you, and see you tomorrow night.
Searching for the truth, will we make it till tomorrow? Will the sun shine on you? Midnight in the desert,